look at the changes that happened. You had this whole era from the Depression through the end of World War II, in which almost nobody was paying any attention to this stuff except the FBI and the House Committee on Un-American Activities, which was constantly under attack for doing so. This was the period of sweetness and light, and the Soviets are our noble allies, and all this dumb stuff I was quoting to you before about he's just a communist, so let's get him in the government here. All of that happened in that atmosphere of pro-Soviet policy and thinking. Well, all of a sudden everything is just totally reversed in the late 40s, and the Cold War starts, and these people are hung out to dry. They did all this. They did these stupid things, some perhaps for more sinister reasons than others, we don't know, but certainly a lot of people who probably weren't communists had just gone along with it. No question about that. So, what do? Do you let this all blow up and say, you mean you let a whole bunch of communists in the government? No, you don't do that. You try to shove it under the rug, and they did. And what they did in the State Department, I have a chapter in particular about the State Department, they tried to get these people out by having them quietly resign. And there's a whole strategy, and I write about that at some length, where these flagrant communists, such as Alger Hiss, they had the goods on Hiss, this chart shows, and they had other things on Hiss. The State Department security people had stuff on Hiss, a lot of stuff. They don't fire him. They don't make any public accusations against him. They call him and say, Alger, we think it'd be a good idea if you resigned. Why don't you, think about that? Well, he's going to think about it, and he thinks about it for a long time, like for 10 months. They finally got him out. But Robert Miller, Soviet agent, State Department, same thing. Call him, try to get him to resign. All kept under the rug. And so they did get rid of some of them. They got Hiss out. They got Miller out. They got a guy named Carl Marzani out. He was another transferee from OSS, so big-time communist. And that became a trial later, the Marzani case. And so they tried this stratagem of discreetly getting him to leave. And some did, but a lot didn't. And then there were Congress. A lot of this played into the 80th Congress, which got elected in the fall of 46. There had been no Republican Congress since the early days of the Depression. All of a sudden, the post-war era happens a lot. It happened kind of in England. Whoever's in gets thrown out at the end of the war. Democrats got thrown out of Congress. Republicans get elected in the fall of 46. And it's interesting that a lot of these people that finally left then. Hiss didn't leave until December of 46. Miller left in December of 46.
Facing a Republican Congress.
I think they knew what was coming. These Republicans didn't run on this. They thought there was infiltration, and they were going to come in and investigate it.
It was an issue.
It was a big issue in the 46 election, that's right. And so a lot of people in government said about time maybe to fly the coop here and get going before these new committees come in and start looking at the situation. And so these committees did come in, and in 47, played out, I have chapters going into some of this, as you know, they bring pressure to bear. The congressmen do. They'd already been doing it in 46, do more in 47. And then they got investigators who went into the State Department and went through the security files. They were allowed to do this at that time. It was very different from what happened later. And they came back with a list of 108 cases of security risks and problems in the State Department. Great big, huge document. It wasn't just a list. It was, there were several paragraphs about each one. 108 of them. And that was assembled in the fall of 1947. In January 48, the House Appropriations Committee begins having hearings about these cases. In March, the House Expenditures Committee, which is now the Government Reform Committee, it changed the name of it, had hearings on these cases also. And they start bringing out some of the facts about these people. On March 13th, 1948, and many other things were happening at the same time, Truman issues a great big secrecy order, which just absolutely shuts down any further information given to the Congress about any security risks, any security issues in the government.
So these State Department files that would document the fact that these people were known to be communists in some cases.
Well, it's not quite. I mean, it's like the documents say things like he was previously employed by the Soviet embassy. Well, what does that suggest? The fact that somebody was working at the Soviet embassy, or that he was, known to be hanging out with these espionage agents. That's what the legal. It has entries like that. Well, anyway, but the cases were anonymous. They were just numbered. The names weren't given.
In the House list.
There was no names.
Right. And true.